So yeah, we were going to have someone line up, but they did have some showings today. It is that time. We know we have to. I find, and any person I did try to call to get on, they all had meetings or showings or listing appointments. So it's definitely there. Everyone's out there hustling, which is great. It's great. It's just definitely hard to find those that, if they are available, are willing to hop on as well. Because we know some people, they're not.
Well, it looks like we have some attendees that are in here today.
Yeah.
So we can make it very personal for them. If anybody wants to raise their hand and tell us about any aha moments, any rocks in your shoe, any holes in your boat, let's take this time to make this your hour.
Okay.
Don't everybody talk at once now. I think everybody should know where the chat button is at the bottom to be able to jump in the chat and say, okay, my leads suck.
Yeah, it is. Let's actually get on to a little bit of a topic of discussion. And we do, so what we do, part of our training now, Beverly, is we do a little slideshow presentation, just educating our clients on what to expect from their online leads. So the motivation of the leads, the timelines, right? These aren't people necessarily that are going to be transacting right away. Some can be 6 to 24 months plus from actually transacting. Now, through all that, we obviously deal with objections. We both know what the most common one that we hear is. But I know there's a lot of realtors out there that want to be able to ask that question about agency if they're working with another agent, because they don't want to waste their time. Now, how I educate my clients when I'm on this topic is similar to what you've guided, and that is to ask that question indirectly. So have you gone to see any houses yet, or are you guys primarily looking online? Because if they've gone to see houses, that's when you're going to start digging to see if there's an agent involved in that. But for those that are just online, they've only been looking online, chances are that they're likely not working with somebody directly at that point. You're in that fairly safe zone. Is there anything that you can add to that, or any other ways that we can ask that question without crippling ourselves? Because I know a lot of folks out there, once they hear I have an agent, they're like, oh, I can't touch this person, right? There's that fear of they're going to get in trouble or reprimanded for reaching out to that person afterwards. So what are your suggestions surrounding that topic?
Well, we have to remember our definition of working with an agent can be much different than the lead's definition of working with an agent. Most buyers do not really truly comprehend the responsibility that the agent should have. So I have found that people will say I'm working with an agent, but their definition of that is they've been in this agent's website and they've been getting emails from this agent. They're working with an agent. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I don't want to take business away from anybody. Good for them, for that agent or for that lead to say they're working with an agent. But has that agent ever reached out to ask them about what their expectations are? Mm-hmm. So all I want to know is, how long have you been looking, and what has your experience been in the process so far? Because we need to set ourselves apart from an agent to an advisor. Our job is to educate these people as much as what we possibly can, so that they can make their decisions for their future with the tools that we've given them to be able to understand. The average agent just listens to the lead and says, okay, let's go see 123 Main Street. They don't ask the questions, they don't dive in, and they don't understand the buyer's expectation. And the only way that we can really do our job is to know what their expectations are. So when we ask the lead, how long have you been looking, and what has your experience been while you've been looking? Tell me about that. I've looked at 4 homes. Well, why didn't those 4 homes work out? What happened? This home, that, this home, that. Well, let me ask you a question. I don't want to take business away from anybody, but has your agent really sat down with you to explain what the process looks like and to really understand what's most important to you? Chances are that lead is going to say no. And in my world of analogy, that's like going to a doctor's appointment and no one doing anything about finding out what your ailment is, what your problem is, what your heart rate is, right? Or what's going on with you. And then, okay, here you are with the surgeon. Well, what the hell? Like, you're taking out my kidneys, but you didn't even ask any of the questions. You just want to take out my kidneys.
Yeah.
So whenever we look at our responsibility from that perspective, it changes the game. But we just have to understand the difference of definitions. So we have to ask the right questions to make sure that we're getting the right answers and not just that overall, I have an agent. Because do they?
Yeah.
They
so
may
easy.
One. Yeah, it's so easy to
so
say.
Easy.
It's like all these buyers get the memo and they know, well, if I say I have an agent, they're just gonna go, okay, well, good luck with that buy.
Yeah. Well, and I try to use myself as an example, right? Like I know so many agents. So if someone was to ask me that question, it'd be so easy for me to just say I have an agent because I know so many. Why wouldn't I have one? Right?
But
doesn't mean I actually
forget,
work.
But every league quickly forgets whenever they go into a new construction that they have an agent.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, if you're going to walk into a new construction, what agent's name are you going to put down? Duh, right? It's like, do you really have an agent? Because now it does happen once in a while where you get a call from the new construction. They're like, hey, they put your name down as being your agent. You're like, whoa, bonus. I don't know whether to deserve that, but hey, thank you very much, right? It happens once in a blue moon, but it's funny, right? They're quick to tell you they have an agent whenever you're trying to convert them. But when they walk into a new construction, no, I don't have an agent.
Yeah. No,
and
for
we just
sure.
have to remember that nobody's loyal. Nobody is loyal. It's all about convenience.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from a perspective, I was listening to a training the other day, and Jay Abraham, he's my business guru, I absolutely adore him, but he was talking about preeminence. And I actually had to look the word up. Okay. And it's really the ability to make your client the one that stands out. Don't fall in love with your service. Don't fall in love with what you're selling. Don't fall in love with what you do. Fall in love with your client. Solve their problems, be their solution, ask the right questions, and make it all about them. They don't care what you can do for them. They want to care. They want to know how much you care about helping them and guiding them and saving them that money. And that's where that elevator pitch is so important with buyers, right?
Yeah.
I can help you save tens of thousands of dollars. But if you don't truly believe that, it doesn't sound right coming out of your mouth.
No.
Right? Yeah. Like how am I going to save a buyer tens of thousands of dollars just by using me? Asking all the right questions and making sure that they're not going to be buying the wrong home. Making sure that if they don't have 2 dimes to rub together in their pocket, making sure they're not buying a home that they're going to have to replace an HVAC system after they make their first mortgage payment. That's helping somebody save tens of thousands of dollars, making sure that they have the home warranty, making sure they understand the process and the expense. Not many agents sit down and explain to somebody before it comes up. And now I don't know about Canada, but we have the earnest money deposit that's written when you write the contract. That's the promise that you committing to a contract.
Yes, you put a deposit in here in Canada.
So explaining that to them, explaining how much a home inspection is, explaining how much an appraisal is, explaining exactly how much money is going to come out of pocket just to buy the home so that there's no surprises. And those are the conversations that are so important to have, but we get so caught up in showing the house and hoping it's going to be the right house that we forget to have those conversations.
No, exactly. And it's also building that trust. It's earning that business as well. And like, as you said, showing that you care. It's when somebody actually cares about your end result and overall well-being, that's when you feel a little bit more drawn to them, right? You know that they're not after their own best interest anymore. They're actually there to help you and guide you, and you feel that much more confident in what they're doing, and you trust what they're saying, rather than being scum. Well, I don't know, why would you want me to go? Like, we all kind of get skeptical about certain people that are telling us to do things because they know the process, but not really understanding or guiding us based on our own situations. Or, perhaps a lot of them are looking out for their own best interest rather than lead. They're just looking for the quick deals. They're looking to make money as fast as possible. And they're out there. There's tons of agents out there that lack in the customer service side of the lead conversion.
And they'll tell you everything they're going to do for you. And it's that promise, over promise. But in reality, it's the questions that are being asked to the person that helps that person really feel like you care about them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have a couple comments. John says he would love to dig into their leads. He has much luck. All right. Yay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really need to see. We could bring him on and we can talk about what's going on in his system and talk about why he hasn't had much luck.
He's got, and I'm just in his system right now. So when I'm looking at all his leads that have a valid phone number potentially, and we've yet to make contact with them, there's 188 leads in there that fall within that category. Okay. When we look into the last activity, and let's just point out the ones that have been, let's say, active in the last 60 days, even just to kind of broaden it, we're looking at 38 of them that are sitting in there. And let's just see here. So, and when we're looking at the most recently active, we've got leads like from January of this year. The second most recently active lead was about 20 hours ago, and that was a lead from 2020 that we still haven't. He tried calling about 6 days ago, but yeah, so there's definitely opportunities sitting in here. I can see he's calling his leads, so he's logging it. What I'm not seeing, and I'd have to go through more filters, is the consistency in those calls.
John, are you able, can you pop in the chat? Are you able to?
Yeah, I can allow him to talk. So he's able to talk if he wants to talk.
Well, hello, and I think, because I'm reading Asher's comment and Sadia, I hope I said it right. Both comments, they're not having luck with their leads either. So John, was just wondering from your perspective, what's going on?
I just find a lot of the leads are very tough just to get a hold of, even like I'm calling the leads and just nothing, trying to don't leave a message and see if they call back and nothing back. So just kind of getting hung up on where to go when I'm not getting through.
Yep. Now, the leads that you are generating, are they Facebook? Are they Google PPC? Are they seller or all the above?
It's all mostly Google.
Buyers, mostly buyers.
Yeah.
Google buyers.
And obviously, over the course of years, technology has made our job much more difficult because spam shows up on our phones much more often now than it ever did, right?
Yep.
And
possible spam.
Yeah, and the ringing of our phone has legitimately become white noise, because it used to be exciting when our phone rang, to the complete opposite to it being annoying when our phone rings now, because we're so accessible no matter where we go, and we're always in that high adrenaline mode. So yes, it is becoming more difficult for us to get a hold of the leads, which is why a lot of the automation has been coming up and happening, because the automation can really hit the leads in that really quick minute, or the first minute in the first 20 seconds. So people are relying a lot more on text messaging to take off that heavy lifting. And the problem with the text messaging is you can't really go to the depths to answer the questions that we need to know to properly qualify the lead. So I still hang on to really wanting to have the verbal conversations. So I have actually had to kind of morph into being more comfortable with text messaging than I am the actual phone calling. But what I will tell you, the consistency of making the phone calls is where the action is at. Now, it might not be what anybody wants to hear, which is why I love how filters are dynamically set up. Because what happens is we get caught up in the people that aren't answering the phone, the people that aren't responding, and we're seeing how active they are in the database. And it pisses us off even more. It's like, oh my gosh, just answer the freaking phone so I know where you're on the process. All they're telling us when they're not answering is, I'm not ready. It's not a priority. And them answering their phones is not a priority. And one thing I have learned through the years, I end up connecting with the people I'm meant to connect with when I connect. But if I'm not sitting down making my phone calls and being consistent, yes, I'm hearing a lot more ringing and a lot less connections. But when you know that you sit down and your efforts is going to result into talking to the person that you're meant to talk to today, it changes the game. So we just have to look at it as, I need to be consistently calling my leads. If I am consistently calling my leads, it's only going to be taking 15 minutes of my time a day because I'm maintaining the consistency. I'm calling the right people. I'm calling the highest priority. I just need to do it. We have to trust the process.
Okay, so is that kind of like just your most active you're focusing on, just reaching out to them every kind of day, every week? Like if I've got the, say 30 or 40 people that have been active in the last 30 days, should I just be reaching out to them once a week kind of thing? Kind of what's the process there that's most effective
Yes,
without
great
sounding
question.
harassing?
Great question. My rule
We
of
do
thumb,
have those filters in your system. Have you been using your save filters, John?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are you really using those filters? Because there's a lot of leads in here that doesn't appear like you're actually using these filters.
Well, yeah, I've more recently
yeah.
been trying to focus on the ones that have had more activity in the last 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So
then the other thing that kind of comes up is, what do I do with the older leads that are kind of haven't been around as much, but do we just kind of let them die off? What's kind of the
how
best
many leads do
processes
you have
there?
coming in a month, John?
Coming in a month, probably about 20,
Okay.
15 to 20, I'd say.
Okay. So this is the true bare bones reality. Leads are coming in. If you're getting 20 a month, you're getting less than one a day, right? You're getting one here, one there, one here, one there.
Yeah.
Lead comes in. We can confirm if it's a bad phone number or not, right?
Mhm.
So what happens if you're using the dialer? Sometimes if it's a bad number, it's going to ring, 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 and just end. That is a red flag to say probably a wrong number, do a manual dial, double check it. If it's a bad phone number, check it off as a bad phone number. The system, put it on a bad phone number campaign. The system's going to take care of it whenever they go to log back in. That's one lead you don't have to worry about trying to call again.
Okay.
So out of the 20 leads, I can promise you there's going to be at least 3 to 4 that are going to be bad phone numbers. So you're left with 16 leads. Out of those 16 leads, I can promise you, you're going to have 2 to 4 conversations. So it's, what do those conversations look like when you're having them? Being prepared with the right questions to find out where they are in the process. And out of those 2 to 4, one's just going to be a rental, I'm not serious, blah, blah, blah. One's going to be way far out, if not 2 of them. And one may turn into a high priority out of a month.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I'm hitting the wall with is the I'm just lookings. There's a lot of those out there.
And that's okay, John. So just think about it. I want to challenge you to change your mindset right now, because what you're doing today is where you are going to be in the next 3 to 4 months. Because when we're generating leads, we have this innate thought process of, if I'm buying leads, my return on my investment, I'm going to make more deals. Yes, in the long term. Most of the people that are online looking are conditioned to go online and look on their own. Just like when we walk into a store, is there anything I can help you with? No, just looking. So our buyers that are online are the exact same way. So we have to shift our mindset on I'm converting to I need to find out where you are in the process of the just looking and what your expectations are over the time frame that is working for you, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer. So our job is not to quickly convert into a paycheck in my bank account. Is to find out, okay, you're just looking. Well, what has to happen for you to be able to make that move? Well, prices have to come down. Okay, well, let's just talk about that for a minute. What is your current situation? I have a home to sell. Well, do prices really have to come down if you have enough equity in your home to be able to trade? What's more important to you? Is it really about the prices coming down? What is it that makes you even thinking about wanting to make a move right now? So if we can peel back the layers and really find out why they're online looking and why they're truly just looking, when do you want to be in your, like, if everything was in alignment and prices were working in your favor, what does that look like? What does your monthly payment look like? I can afford $3,000 a month. If I found you a home that would be $3,000 a month based on the equity that you have, the money you're putting down, would you be interested? People don't know what they don't know. Everyone right now is, oh my God, the market is so crazy. But is it really? It is what it is. There's people that are still buying. There's people that are fighting over homes. So this might not be the time for you to buy. If you think the prices are high, and the honest to God's truth, if you're renting right now and you're trying to buy a home in this crazy market, you probably might want to wait, because yes, you are going to overpay. And yes, I believe there's going to be an adjustment in the market. It's not going to be tremendously huge, but there's going to be an adjustment. So you're just looking, but tell me about what's important to you. And it takes it from being that agent that I'm trying to convert to, I really care about your best interest and where you are in the process. Do you plan on, John, being in real estate next February?
Yes.
2023? So just look at it this way, right? If you talk to somebody today and they're next year, guess what? If you do all the right things and you ask them all the right questions of how they want you to check in and follow up with them, they could be your right now this time next year.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've tried to set up the task reminders for those leads that have kind of gone that route, following up 6 to 8 months, set up those reminders. But then when it comes to following up, I'm getting nothing from them. So
we all do. And that's what happens, right? That's why I like to really set the expectation in that phone call, because I don't expect them to answer the phone whenever I call them with a touchback. And if I bring that to the attention on the phone call and I ask them, okay, so you're looking at probably October before you're even thinking about looking at making a move. John, what's most important for you that I could be doing for you over the process from now until October? I don't care when you buy. I just want to be able to earn your business. What can I do to earn your business? And honestly, they're going to say, I really don't know. Well, then let me ask you, what's most important for you while you're gathering information? Well, just keep me up to date on homes. Perfect. Get their criteria, get them set up, let them know that they will be receiving emails. And oh, by the way, our emails love to go to your spam. Do you mind if I check in every so often to make sure that you're getting the emails and to see if there's any changes that I need to make? Sure, that'd be great. So John, I know that we get busy and you're probably not going to answer the phone whenever I call. Do you mind if I just shoot you a quick text message after I give you a phone call? Sure. You don't have to respond to me. I don't expect you to. I know you're busy. I know you're not going to be until October. I just want you to know that I'm here on my end doing my job. Because let's face it, I don't like to talk to every single person that sends me a text message. I don't like to talk to every single person that leaves a voicemail on my phone. You know, and I relate this back to, I hope I'm not the only idiot that thinks like this. Somebody will send me a text message and I'll be like, got it. And then they come back and say, thank you. And then I'm like, no, but thank you. Who ends the thank you? Who ends the got it? Do we ever think about that? Crystal, am I the only one like that? Like, who ends?
Sometimes look at that and it's just like, why did you just respond to me again? Like, I felt like what I just said was kind of like the end of the conversation. And then it's almost like they have to have the last word in there. And then sometimes you feel guilty. Should I respond or should I not respond? Like, what do I do now in this situation? Yes.
And if you call a spade, it takes that pressure off of the lead.
Yeah.
Because they feel bad that they didn't respond to you. They feel bad that they're not calling you back after phone call after phone call after phone call. But if we say, hey, you know what? Don't worry about answering the phone. I don't expect you to answer the phone unless you need to say something to me. I just want you to know that I'm doing my job on my end. They're getting the text message. They're getting the phone call. Let that be the system and trust that process. We're not going to win every one. But by damned, at the end of the day, if I call them and they say they already purchased and I missed out on that deal, I did everything I could. There was nothing more that I could physically do than go and knock on their door and drag them in my car. So as long as we're doing what we say we're going to do, we are absolutely increasing our chances of breaking through and being that person. Because I will tell you this, the buyers are not going to go be loyal to anybody. I promise you. They are going to go with the person who's the most convenient. And why have we all lost buyers? Because there was another agent that was more convenient. Promise.
Give them too much space. I'm bothering them. I feel like I'm bothering them. Oh, they're not. I'm just bothering them. So then they're like, I won't. I'll give it some time. As soon as you give it time, that's the other agent just swoops right in and steals that right out from underneath you.
Yep. So when I look at Asher's note in the chat and I look at Sadia's note in the chat, when we are exchanging money for leads, we put an expectation on it that we are going to convert at a certain percentage. And I'm going to challenge each and every one of you. It's not about the conversion. It's about the conversations. But if we're not consistent calling our leads, we're never going to have those conversations. And sometimes we just need to get them to raise their hands. I was in a dashboard the other day and the agent was working on bad phone number campaigns. They had a ton of bad phone numbers in their system because they never did a campaign. They're like, what do I do with these? I'm like, let's put them on a bad phone number campaign. He had a lead respond and they said, I'm not going to be ready till summer. How much am I looking at putting down for a down payment? That was February 4th. The lead emailed back and there was the agent didn't respond. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We do this work to get these leads to raise their hand. And they're like, oh shit, now what do we do? They responded. Now I don't know what to say to them. I don't know what to do. So it's being logical, right? And that's why I said, this is such an example. We don't need to go in and solve their problem. We just need to ask more questions. Well, what do you think your capacity is to be able to put money down? What is your expectation of putting money down? There's programs from 100% financing to 20% down. What do you think? Right? Engage and have the conversation because nobody wants to commit. And as long as we have that understanding and we remove the expectation of, I got to close every single person that I talk to or every single person that I'm not calling, we're not going to have the results that we're looking for. So, John, to get back to answer your question, we were talking about 20 leads a month, absolutely 3 to 4 being bad phone numbers. So let's take it down to 17. Let's say 2 to 4 you're having conversations with, we take it down to 15. We have 15 leads a month coming in that aren't answering their phone or responding to text message. That's not a whole lot of phone calls when you sit down to make your phone calls. So here's my process. The first 14 days that they registered, 6 to 8 phone attempts along with the email and text campaign that's going out to them. So what's going to happen, a lead that registered today is going to stay in that filter for the 14 days. And on day 15, they fall out if they don't answer the phone and you don't move them to a contacted stage or another stage in the pipeline. They just move through. I just know, whoop, I'm going to call today. I'm going to call Wednesday. I'm going to call Friday. I'm going to call Saturday. And then I'll call again on Monday. Just, you're not looking at the names. You're not looking at the activity. You just know you registered in the last 14 days. And my job is to find out where you are in the process. I'm just going to whoop. For me to call through 15 leads, it's literally going to take me less than 10 minutes, even if somebody answers the phone. So I'm not a proponent of saying, sit down at your dashboard and dial for 3 hours a day. As long as you're maintaining consistency and you're clearing the leads out as they're coming in, you're never going to get backlogged on the leads that registered the last 14 days. That's your highest priority besides your tasks. The next set of leads that are your highest priority, John, to your point, are your ones that are actively engaged over the last 30 days. No matter when they registered, after the 15th day, that is your second priority list. Because if we've never talked to these leads and they've been in your system for 6 months, a year, 5 years, and they're actively engaged in the emails, they're a high priority. I call them once a week. Because if I have 6 to 8 attempts to you in the first 14 days, I'm not going to keep trying at that capacity. I'm just going to be trying once a week. So once a week, you can pop out a text, you can make a phone call, and you're just consistently checking in with them. Not looking at what they're looking at, not looking at notes, not judging them on who these people are and how many phone calls you've made to them, just going through and trusting the process. And it can take, one of my favorite stories, this guy always comes up, I don't remember his name, but he came in our system in March. He called us back in November. We did our due diligence, and back then we were 10 to 12 attempts in the first 14 days. He maintained being active and looking at properties. We called him every week. By the time he called us back in November, it was 84 phone calls we had into this guy. Never talked to him. But he called us back. My agent left 2 voicemails within 84 dials. She left 2 voicemails. The only reason she left a voicemail is because his voicemail said, if you don't leave a message, I won't call you back. And he called her back and said, I feel like I owe you this phone call because you have been so diligent with earning my business and you don't even know me. I can only imagine how hard you're going to work for me whenever we commit to you as our agent. We may not be seeing and getting confirmation of what we're doing is working, but I promise you it's making a difference. Just get out of your freaking ego and don't worry about receiving the confirmation of them. I got your voicemail. You're going to be my agent in 8 months. Thank you. Like, you don't need that. Just trust the process and do what you do. Don't expect anything in return. Just make the phone calls. Whether they're answering or not, you're making an impact, I promise. And play with the voicemails. Once I've made a so when you're talking about the people that you set up on the task and they're not responding back to you, tell them on the voicemail, hey, don't worry about calling me back. If you need anything, I'm here. If you have any questions, I'm here. That's all they want to know. They don't have time for you. You're not that important. Sorry.
Thanks so much. It definitely helps. So
does it help in realizing that you don't have to spend hours upon hours in your database?
yeah, for sure. That
Just be
definitely makes a
consistent.
difference.
And when you were talking about the leads that are not so active, right? That's your extra credit. So your leads that aren't active, if you have more time to spend, those are the leads that honestly are the ones that usually pick up the phone because they're not actively engaged and their phone isn't ringing off the hook with other agents because they're not online looking.
Okay, so once they kind of hit that fall off that 30-day activity kind of time period, is there kind of a process that you have for keeping in touch, or is it just kind of when you've got free time type thing? And
I look at those leads as a priority, right? So if they come into my system and I have those 6 to 8 attempts, and then I have, those weekly attempts, and then they're not active, they have 10 to 12 phone calls from me within that monthly time frame. So then you're going to have leads that are active on the 30 to 90 day, right? Like they haven't looked at a property for 30 to 90 days. And then you have leads from the 91 days to 150 days inactive. So the longer they're in your system and haven't logged in, they're going further and further inactive in your dashboard. So in my eyes, the higher priority are the 30 to 90 days, the 91 to 150 days, then your 151 to 200 plus days, depending on how many leads you have in your dashboard. So it's up to you. How many leads do you have in those categories to just try to call once a month? Whip through the dialer, try calling them once a month. For me to drop 50 people into a group, or even if I have 100 people in a group and I just prioritize it on last login or last touch, for me to get through 50 dials, it's 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next. I promise you, I will physically promise you, if you sit down and make those 50 phone calls, you are going to have a conversation, if not 2 or 3, to be able to move those leads back out. Now, you might not get the response you want to hear, but you're getting a response and you're having a conversation. Those 50 dials, they should not take you an hour. It should be less than 45 minutes, 23 seconds, 23 seconds, 23 seconds. Don't get hung up in the notes. Don't get hung up in anything. Just 23 next, 23 next, 23 next. And have the conversations that you have and move them. And just look at it as organizing a database instead of making the conversion. And then you might just get lucky.
okay, perfect. And then when do you kind of just let them fall off? Like, do you reach a point that you just kind of let them go as a lost lead? How do you kind of
when
make
you
that
are
decision?
out with buyers and they're inactive and they're not a priority at all? When you have too much going on. And I always look at your business as the number one objective is sitting at the table with a customer. If you're sitting at a table closing, you're collecting a paycheck. That is the number one goal. If you're not at the table closing, you should be in front of a ready, willing, and able buyer or seller. If you're not in front of the ready, willing, and able seller or buyer, you should be talking to somebody on the phone. If you're not talking to them on the phone, you should be attempting to get somebody on the phone or out networking in front of people or doing your research. So the question is, what are you doing with your time to make yourself known so that buyers and sellers know you are an option in your market? So you can answer that question yourself, right? I could be sitting here doing Facebook. I could be sitting here emailing. I could be sitting here doing nothing. But what am I doing to get in front of people? What am I doing to potentially have a conversation? Because if you're doing nothing, you get nothing. If you're doing something, you have that ability of having a connection with somebody.
Right. That makes good sense.
And you can always do text messages out. Say, hey, at one time you were looking at home, just wondering if you're still in the market or if you found something. Hey, if they come back and said, found something, great. That's one less lead I got to worry about. But just remember, there's 2 different types of leads that we have coming in, whether it be Facebook or whether it be Google. They're ones that have increased the amount of time they're looking at homes on the internet because they're getting ready to pull the trigger, or they're genuinely really just looking. And what I love about the market that we're in right now is it's created more opportunity with the leads that we have come in if you are equipped with the right questions, because they cannot believe there's no inventory and they're looking for that needle in the haystack. They're looking for that one listing that they think that their agent may have missed. They're looking for that one listing that may not have been there yesterday or an hour ago. And they become obsessed about finding the property that doesn't exist because we have no inventory. We just need to find out which lead are they.
Mhm.
Does that excite you a little bit more about wanting to make a phone call?
Yeah, that definitely helps.
But
So
just get
thank
out
you
of your
so
damn
much.
head. Get out of your damn head and stop thinking about it. Just make the calls.
Sounds good.
I
Thanks so
would
much.
take your number one filter and call 20 to 30 of those a day. Get it down to nothing, but 20 to 30 of them a day. And then in your second filter, hammer as many calls as you can in that one a day. And essentially you'll get to a point where your number one and number two are empty.
Yes.
And then it's just a matter of upkeep, because number one is going to show you all the new leads that you've never attempted to call. And number two is going to be the ones that you have to keep calling for the next 2 weeks. You're going to call them every 2 days. So the biggest thing and what is common is I'll look into systems and there's 1 to maybe 3 call attempts all spread out. And then, no one answers. So the consistency is not there. We're not making enough call attempts. Leads are hesitant, or we're calling at times that they might just not be available to take a call every time we're calling. So it's not necessarily that they don't want to talk to you. It's that we're always calling at a time that they're unavailable to take a call. So just keep doing it. Just keep being consistent with your calls and, allocating yourself, giving yourself, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, set that time aside and just hammer out as many calls and have as many conversations as you can. And a lot of your leads are going to be just looking. But we have to figure out what that timeline is, right? There's often intent behind it just looking. We just have to figure out what that is. They're not garbage. Some people will deem them as garbage because they don't ask the right questions. If you don't ask the right questions, well, everyone's garbage. They're just looking. No one's actually serious. Right? But there's just looking people out there that are actually ready to buy. They have they're pre-approved. They've got pretty much all their ducks in a row. They just kind of browsing online. They're not, off the fence yet. Right? But we have to ask those questions to find that out.
Yeah, for sure.
And make those filters how these filters all came about was on my previous webinars, I talked about a Farmville back in the day, right? You had to be strategic on planting your crop, because if you didn't harvest it, you lost it, it died. So you had to be strategic at, okay, I'm going to plant my corn. It's 2 days. I'm not going to have anything for in 2 days. So I plant my strawberries. That's in an hour. I can harvest that in an hour. It was a game. Candy Crush. It's a game. If you look at your filters as clearing them out, make the game work for you and go, oh my gosh, I got it. It's down to 0. Yay. Right. And then tomorrow it's down to 0. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I had to do for me, because it does become monotonous calling the leads and not getting an outcome sometimes. So my outcome is literally clearing out my filters and knowing that I'm trusting the process and I'm calling the right people.
Right. I've got a couple of
do it at the same time every day, because you want to
there's-
change up the time frames.
There's a couple preset filters. Is there any other filters that I should be using to kind of help narrow that down? I've only got 5 filters. And I think those were just the preset ones. I've never kind of set up my own. Any suggestions on that?
So those ones there, so if you wanted to do the 14-day one, you can. I wouldn't do it yet because you're not consistent with your calls in here. So when we do the register in 14 days and Beverly's in there making those calls, and then they move on to the next filter, she's jumping in there every day and making her calls. Unless you're going to be doing that and know for sure that you're going to be doing that, I wouldn't put the registration and have them fall off that list into another list. So I would focus on the number 1 and number 2 first. We can add a number 3, which is after they've hit the 8th call. If they haven't answered, then we move them down to just once a week calls if they've been active in the last 30 days. Because those are kind of your kind of 4th priority in that list is those ones that have fallen off, because we've already exhausted 2 weeks of calling with no success. But if you're consistent, most of them will answer by the 6th to 8th call attempt, because they got to figure out who it is that's trying to get a hold of them.
Right.
Yeah. And most people don't put together the phone number that's coming in versus the text message that comes in.
Mhm.
And just let your database work for you. Rory had asked if Agent Locator could help set up the filters. Think about what the capacity of Agent Locator allows you to do, and think about, okay, if my tried to contact people are all my people that I have no idea where they are in the process, that is a group of people that screams opportunity, because I just need to find out where they are in the process. So everybody that's in try to contact stage is going to fall into the different time spectrum that we were talking about. So if you have your filter as tried to contact, folks, this isn't difficult. You go in, you customize your filter, try to contact, break it up into your days, break it up into their activity. So try to contact, register the last 14 days. That's your filter. And then if you want to customize it to has a valid phone number or unknown, now you have a proper call list, because everybody you move into a bad phone number is going to fall out. Try to contact 15 or more days, 15 plus days registration. Activity, last 30. Good phone number, unknown phone number. Really let your database work for you in what you feel is going to be a priority lead to be able to pull in. And that's what's so awesome about the filters, is that they are dynamic. So when you call that lead and you have a conversation and you move them out of try to contact, they're falling out of that filter. Woohoo, win. I started at 12, I'm at 11. And just having fun with it. I hope that was helpful.
Make it again. You guys have stats too. You guys have stats that you can access to. So that's one way that you can look at it is, and I'm sorry if I'm breaking out my system. I just see my internet's unstable, is the stats. And you can say, like, last week I made X amount of calls. This week I'm going to do at least one more call than I did last week. Or I spoke on that, my call duration time was, 30 minutes last week. I'm going to push to make sure that my call duration is 45 minutes this week, right? So you can create little, similar type games, but using the stats is knowing how many calls you've accomplished, how much talk time, how much time you're actually spent having conversation.
Well, and what I do with some of my coaching clients that haven't been used to making 50 calls a day, make 5 today. Tomorrow, when you sit down, see if you can beat that time, track your time, track your results. Tomorrow, call 5 more and see if you can beat it. The next day, do 10. Then the next day, do 10 and see if you can beat that number. And just gradually increase. Start creating that habit. And then it's going to get more and more comfortable for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that. Big help. I think part of my problem was just not knowing how to work with the leads and kind of the process, how to manage that process. But this is just, it's been very insightful for me for sure. So,
wonderful.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. I want to touch on Sadie's comment here. Some of the leads were very enthusiastic in the beginning, but become cold in the next couple of days. I'm unable to understand the reason. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to figure it out. It's very easy to get caught up in a moment, in the moment. And, I'm going to go back to my direct sales days. It's happened to me all the time. I would go to a party. I don't even know. Do people even do home parties anymore? Everything's like online anymore. So
I don't know. Somewhat, but not really. I don't know. I guess it depends on how old you are.
Right. Crystal, did you ever attend a home show?
Like a home show?
Yeah. Like a chef show, or I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So you go to a show, you're kind of excited about going, but you're kind of pain in the ass to go because that they're gonna like make you buy something.
Yeah.
You go to a show and you have a great time. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to have a party. It gives the host credit, right? You're like, woohoo, I scheduled a party. I'm gonna have a party next month. Then you get home and the next day happens. You're still excited about having the party. And then that consultant's trying to get a hold of you to get your guest list. And you're like, oh God, I gotta get a guest list together. I really don't want to ask everybody to come to a party. I really don't want to ask them to be spending money at my party. I'm going to avoid that phone call at all costs because I don't want to tell her that I've changed my mind because I feel bad. I know I'm not the only one out there, or I'm just a complete bitch. I don't know. That's just how I'm like, oh,
we've all done it. Yeah. I've
Right?
signed up. I was like, oh, this felt like I sent it to my girlfriend. This would be fun to do, right? And then now they've been hounding me to like do it, and I'm like, do I really want to do that though? Like, I don't know. It was like kind of like in the moment where you're like, this seems like a great idea, and then you're like, maybe not a great idea. I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about it.
or even if you go out and party and you're drinking, this is a great idea. Give me another glass of wine.
Yeah,
Give me another glass of wine, and the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to drink again, right?
I know.
People get caught up in the moment. People get caught up in the conversation. It's exciting talking about moving.
You do.
But the commitment of it after the conversation is, oh God, I just had this conversation. They think I'm going to be moving and I really don't have intentions of moving right now. So I'm just not going to take that phone call back. And that's why I'm saying it's so important for us to take that pressure off of the lead. To say, I don't expect you to call me back. I don't expect you to return my phone call. But guess what happens? When you take that pressure off of them, that's when they call you back. Because then they don't feel that you are going to be selling to them. And we can't hold leads to a certain standard of our expectation. So I'm going to challenge you, Sadia, to go back and just reach out to those people and say, hey, I know I've been trying to get you. Don't worry about calling me back. Just want you to know that I'm here. If you have any questions about the market or what's going on or about your search, just let me know. Shoot me a text, give me a call. No big deal. I'll check back in a couple of weeks. It's okay that they're not responding to you. It's actually good. Saves you time on the phone. I get excited sometimes when people don't call me back when I'm going through my tasks because I just want to get through them.
Just want to be done with it. Done and move on.
Yeah.
I find too, sometimes what happens, and it's actually very common when I'm looking at call notes, is that we don't ask enough questions to really understand where they're at in the process and what their actual timeline intention looks like. So we have a lead that's now talking to us, they're giving us all this, what they're looking for, and and they, it sounds like a great conversation, but we forget to ask one of the most important questions. And so now we're under the impression that they're moving right away or relatively soon. So your follow-ups are consistent with that. And they're like, whoa, like, we're not ready for like another 6 months here. Now she's trying to get me to go look at houses this weekend. So that's where it's also vital to your follow-ups and your success. So your leads stop ghosting you as much, is to understand that. So you're not coming off as sales leads.
Yep.
Right. Trying to push them into something they're not ready for just yet.
And that's why I always like to ask people, what can I do to earn your business? Because we have to realize they're probably talking to a couple other people. So what's going to set you apart? Asking how I can earn your business. How would you like me to follow up? Because that speaks volumes, because it's showing that you care. It's showing that you're not just expecting their business. There's a lot of hidden words in that phrase of what can I do to earn your business? And very few people ask it. And yes, Sadia, you've been doing it the last few days. Perfect. This is a marathon, not a sprint, guys. So the only thing that is getting in your way is you're thinking about it too much and just not trusting the process. These people will reach out at some point. It may not be you, but if you don't go through the process and trust the process, it's never going to be you. So you just have to just keep the phone calls going, keep being consistent, and just keep doing what you do. And Sadia, you had a question here. Is it okay to ask directly for the business from SOI, from your sphere of influence? Absolutely. If you want to, I don't like working with my friends and family. I'm like, I don't want to work with you. But absolutely, your sphere of influence needs to know that this is your business and this is what you're doing. And is there anything that you can help them with? Is there any questions that they may have about the market? You know, it's funny. I was telling a story just the other day before I got my license. And, you know, I brought up the whole party scene. I did Pampered Chef in my former life. And I remember one of my repeat hostesses had just gotten her real estate license. And she called me. She's like, hey, Bev, I just got my real estate license. I was going to go look at some homes. You want to come look at some homes with me? Yeah, that would be some fun times. Absolutely. She freaking converted me into a buyer. I'm like, ooh, I think I want to move. I didn't end up. It was in a crazy market. We did put a couple offers on homes, and she was too green to actually get us the offer to win. She didn't position us properly, and so we ended up not moving. But just like I was telling John, our goal is to be at the settlement table in front of people, networking. Utilize your friends to go and preview homes. And you go preview a home and you're like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful fireplace I've ever seen. Take a freaking picture, do a quick video, get it on Facebook, get it on Instagram. Oh my gosh, I went and previewed this home. Look at this freaking fireplace. Isn't it amazing? Take your friends. Everybody likes to look at houses. Everybody's online looking at houses. You know, in my mind, I'm like, ooh, that's a really good email. I'm going to preview houses this weekend. Would you just want to go look at a house with me? Right? Hey, no obligation.
I'm looking at them for sure. I look at all the lottery houses. Every time they're in the area, the lottery houses, I go in there imagining what it'd be like to live in this 5,000 square foot, I don't need this much room house, but you know, it'd be sure nice to have, and you start to, you know, this is cool. This is a cool idea. Right? Or you go to the different builders, look at the sites, the show homes, right?
Well, I'm sitting even here thinking, I'm like, wow, what a great email or text message to the leads. Hey, who are my HGTV people?
Yeah.
I'm going out this weekend looking for ideas on, I don't know, whatever, on kitchen remodeling.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to go and look at some kitchens with me? Who knows? I don't know. Just get creative and have fun with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we do of something, the easier it is to stay in the flow.
Yeah. So,
you know, it's, if you haven't been with a buyer in a couple of months, it's like, oh my God, trying to find that buyer, but if we're out just looking at homes and we're out previewing homes, we're in the motion, we're in it, we just go with it. So Sadia, sometimes I don't know what to say to them. Is that with a brand new lead that you're just first calling, or with the people that you're following up with and nurturing? Because we don't need to know what to say. We need to know what to ask. When you have the right questions, you don't need to know what to say, because they're basically telling you what, and just question. And what are the most important things we need to find out? Hey, I saw you online looking at homes in wherever. Just wondered, where are you in the process? What are you looking for? Oh, I'm just looking. That's awesome. I'm glad you're just looking. What are your future plans? Do you have plans on making a purchase? Oh, no, I don't, not anytime soon. So what is your current situation? Do you own or do you rent? Oh, you own a home. How long have you been in your home? 8 years. Oh, you probably have some really good equity then, right? Yeah. So what's the purpose of the move? If you were going to move, right? If you were going to move, what would be the purpose? Are you looking to get something bigger? Are you looking to go smaller? What's your intention? I need a bigger home. Oh, so what does that look like? How many bedrooms? So if the stars were aligned and there wasn't anything getting in your way, when would you like that move to happen? And you'll be amazed at what they say. Just get to know them a little bit better. Ask the questions, ask the questions. If you go to fixyourcrm.com, you will get access to my questions, my tags. And I know, Crystal, I think they have the tags out there too.
Yeah, we have the tags are automatically added to everyone's system now when they come
Right.
on.
I
So we
love
can give it
that.
on a click. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
But
those are
just really focus on becoming a great question asker, because he who's asking the questions controls the conversation.
and just think of it as a conversation. That's all you gotta like. It takes the pressure off of you and it takes the pressure off the leads. Right? It's just a now casual conversation. We just happen to be talking about homes and maybe something else that might pop into that conversation to drop the pressure even further.
So
right? If you don't get all the questions, you can ask it the next time you call, or the next time you have the opportunity.
I'll answer your question, Sadi, and then we'll go ahead and tie this up. So she has a lead that told her that she wants to sell and buy in the summer. She wants to do a follow-up call, but she doesn't really know what to say to her. Just check it. You can just check in with her right now and just say, hey, I'm just checking in. I know that you were summertime. Just wanted you to know that I'm here if you had any questions. But reality, we just want to find out, when does it make sense for you, the lead, to know your numbers? Because really there's no time too soon to do that market analysis, to give them their numbers, to be able to watch the market.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know what may happen or come up abruptly. So the quicker you can get into that listing appointment, and how I like to transition that is, would it be helpful? I always ask for permission, right? Would it be helpful for you to know your numbers while you're in the information gathering process? No obligation whatsoever, just to be able to give you an idea of what your home would sell for right now, of what money you would put in your pocket, so that while you're in the information gathering stage of looking at homes that may meet your expectation, would it be helpful for you to have those numbers? I would love to come out and give that to you with no obligation. And then, so my follow-ups, I would just be checking in right now in that voicemail. Hey, I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. I'll check in with you in a few weeks. Feel free to reach out if you need to. If not, I'll check in with you in a few weeks. If she answers the phone, it's, hey, I was just checking in with you. I know you're not going to be until the summertime, but just wondered how's everybody doing? Weather's breaking, what's going on in the world? Just care, just check in with them, see if they have any questions. That's all. They're real people just like you. Treat people like you would want to be treated. Put yourself into their situation and just say, if someone called me, what would I like someone to say to me? Oh, she answers every time I call. That's great. Because people just, I know on those, when she answers the phone, just ask her, when do you want me to check back in with you again? Put it on them. When would you like me to check back in with you? What makes the most sense? And then that way we take all of our guesswork out of it when we ask for that permission. My job is just to earn your business. I just want to make sure that I'm meeting your expectations, but I need to know what your expectations are so I can check back in. And that's when you start treating your tasks like that's putting bread on your table. Because now you've made a promise and now you have to follow through. We love to overthink this stuff.
I know, right? Just call. Have conversations.
Just call.
You're a friendly, nice person.
How you doing?
Offer help.
Did you have a nice Valentine's Day? Did you have Valentine's Day? What'd you guys do for Valentine's Day?
Yeah. We
Give
just
me
had
plans.
pancakes. We had pancakes.
I love it.
Oh, God.
Did you cut them in heart shapes?
No, we didn't go that far. We did crepes, so it would be a little bit different. Well, I guess you could have did it, but it would have taken forever. Because crepes always take forever anyway, because they're so thin. But
yeah, very fun.
A long time.
And you all are welcome. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to spend with us.
Absolutely.
Get on the phones.
Yeah, you guys just send me an email if you want to be part of the live dials the next session or guest of honor. I think we'll be looking into March, actually the second session now. I think I've got the first one lined up. But do send me an email. I have a list. So, in situations like this where we had someone cancel, I go through and I start calling people to see who's available, or I have you lined up already and I go from there. But
yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
We'll see you again in a couple
everybody.
weeks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Alrighty. See ya.